Okay, joining me on the phone line is Sreeram Chaulia now. Sreeram, thank you very much for speaking to us now. While on the one hand, the government says that it wants to back the WHO study into the origins of the coronavirus pandemic, on the other hand, there have been several questions that have been raised upon the, independence essentially of the WHO, because China at the end of the day is a huge donor, and those are concerns that have been raised at several platforms.
Yeah, the WHO's first attempt at investigating was a kind of a flop show. It happened a few months ago, and it was long delayed in January, February. The Chinese got the veto power on which scientists will be allowed to be on the WHO investigation team. And of course, they converted the whole thing into a drama by making it a joint mission. China-WHO joint inquiry. It was not an independent inquiry, it was a joint inquiry where the guilty party, which is China, which the whole world knows, itself was on the so-called investigation. So, they want to be judge, jury, and executioner on the corona origin. When the fact is that they have been the one who have been hindering and hiding a lot. So, yes, I think a second probe by WHO in itself is not a solution. But at least it helps to keep the issue out there in the international public consciousness. On the other hand, there's a parallel thing going on with the intelligence agencies. As we know, U.S. government, Joe Biden administration has authorized the entire U.S. intelligence community and their allied networks across the world to gather more and more, to dig deeper and to find out more and more about what really happened in 2019 or even before that. Because now, from the sensational disclosures and leaks that we are getting, it looks like it was even before 2019 that the virus was circulating. So these two have to go parallelly. There's no harm in having a WHO second round, but I will say that China will again try to compromise it, will again try to slow it down, and will again try to block it as usual in the name of sovereignty, state sovereignty, and that non-interference in internal affairs. According to China, the problem is solved already. They are saying it's over and we have to move forward. But I think for millions of people who have died, tens of millions who are infected around the world, the whole economies have collapsed, we deserve a better answer. We deserve to get to the bottom of what happened 2019 in Wuhan or the rest of China, what was hidden from us, why it was allowed to expand like this, and was it an accident, was it negligence, whatever it is. We have to come to this. Otherwise, there is no closure to this crisis. There can be no recovery or healing from corona pandemic unless China is brought to account, at least morally, if not to make them pay for financial compensation, at least morally, ethically, the world needs to know. So I think the intelligence, the national security investigations must be going on parallel, the Western countries, and I hope that we are also, without making a fuss about it, we should be cooperating with the U.S. and other countries in trying to find out more through human and technical intelligence on the ground. And
no, Dr. Chaulia, as you point out, obviously, there has to be a closure. But apart from a closure, people deserve answers. They've lost their loved ones across the globe. Apart from that, for any thing to be learned in the long term, also, do you not think that we need to know what was the root cause of the problem? Where did it originate from? What was, behind it? Whether it was manufactured in a lab? Was it a simple mistake that led to such a huge pandemic? So don't you think that, that also is essential for our learning for the future?
Absolutely. How do we prevent the next pandemic and avoid the next disaster or mitigate it? It's only possible if we do the homework on what happened with the previous one. So the origins of coronavirus, the policy initial blunders and missteps and the cover-ups that the Chinese did, possibly they did not announce it to the world for several months while it was circulating. All these needs to be found out, because otherwise we can repeat it. We may go into post-corona, and then there will be a next pandemic that will hit us, and it could be even worse. So I think the regulatory failures of China, the Communist Party, local and central government, the way they try to hush it up, the way they sanitize the crime scene, so to say, in the wet market in Wuhan, all those things need to be put together. So U.S. intelligence and the allies are working hard on bringing a comprehensive, detailed, account of what really happened. Meanwhile, WHO scientists, let them go gather samples and data. It's okay. But we know that the Chinese will not allow it to be a fully free and open-ended. They try to constrain these investigations and tie them down. We know it's a game. But I think India is doing the right thing. We do believe in multilateral processes. Multilateral diplomacy has its own, place. And the truth, in fact, if there is a fact-finding by WHO, then it has more legitimacy in the eyes of many people than if it is just U.S. intelligence or U.S. allies or Europeans. Because then the Chinese can always say that this is just politics. And these Western countries, they hate China and they are trying to malign our reputation. But if it comes through WHO, it will not be as hard-hitting as U.S. intelligence. But at least there is some progress, and the Chinese cannot outright dismiss it because it's a multilateral process. So we must, have both these tracks going parallelly, and hopefully the two together, at least in the next few months, should get to the bottom of it, because it's already 1.5 years since the pandemic is out.
Absolutely.
It's a shame that the world doesn't know the truth.